We'll be taking a look at some of the intraday trading tools that are built into the new Market Analyser 7 platform. My name's Jeff Cartridge. I'll be running the presentation this evening. And as we go through the presentation, please feel free to ask questions. To do that, just type a question into the question box that's in front of you, and that will pop up on the screen in front of me. I'll answer those questions as we go through, and there will be an opportunity after about sort of 20-minute or so presentation to ask questions about anything that you choose. So I'll run you through a few of the tools that are in here first, and you can ask questions as we go through that. And then after that, what I'll do is have an open session where you can ask questions about any aspect of the platform and what you've been seeing in there tonight. So we're going to take a look at some of the intraday trading tools that are available in the new Market Analyser 7. It's the focus of tonight's presentation. The first one is the watch list that you've got right in front of you here, and it's sort of the heart of the new Market Analyser 7 platform is the watch list. But you can see what's up and down for the day by looking at the plus and minus in dollar terms or percentage move in here. There's also a ribbon which, because the market is closed, the trend here is not populating. But there's a ribbon that will either be red or green depending on whether the market's up or down, and it will climb up or climb down depending on which way the share is moving. And all this gives an indication of what's happening as we look at the market on a daily basis. I've got the top 20 shares up here, and I've just picked that up from the system watch list loaded. So I'm watching the top 20 shares. One of the keys for if you're following the market during the day is that being aware that different companies have different weighting in the actual index. BHP is about 30% of the index. So if BHP is heading up, there's a very good chance that the market, as measured by the ASX 200 index, is actually rising as well. So keeping an eye on BHP, followed by CBA is number 2. And the other major banks are up there in the top 5 as well. So keeping an eye on the movement in those companies will give you a good indication of what the market is doing as an overall picture. But moving on from that, market depth down the bottom right hand corner here shows you the detail of what's going on during the day. So here we have our buyers and sellers and the prices they're willing to pay. Now not only do we have the current pricing structure with the bids on the left and the asks on the right, we also have the last 20 trades that have gone through, so we can scroll down to see if there's a movement up or down in price over the last period of time. Now something like BHP, CBA trade huge quantities in a day, and these will be flicking over quite fast while the market's open. But if you're in some of the smaller shares, you'll actually see the trades going through as they happen. So they'll be more obvious because they're coming through in lumps, and it's very often possible to see your order executed when it actually hits the market. Your market depth can be got for any share just with a right click on it and clicking on the depth button here. Now that opens a new window for that particular company that you've brought up. The other way to do that, instead of opening a new window, if you right click and broadcast, then it updates all of your open windows with the company. So BHP that I right clicked on then pops into both of these. If I wanted to have a look at Newcrest, right click, broadcast, and it populates the lists in here. We are working on the data link, which will allow you to selectively choose which windows are updated when you hit the broadcast, and that will be available in one of the future releases. The other aspect of the new Market Analyser platform is in the charting. We've obviously got intraday charting. That's the I button over here, and if we right click on the screen, we can bring up the chart properties and set the intraday period. Now the intraday period set here is 5 minutes. If you want to watch every say 3 minutes, you could do that just by changing it here and telling it OK. And so now those candles, each one will represent every 3 minutes of trading information. Obviously you can apply indicators and everything to the chart just as you would if it was an end of day chart. And what a screen that's often used when trading during the day is to set up a range of screens. So we're looking at a very short-term chart here, but we can set up another one. And in this chart I'll go intraday again, but what I'll look at is a 60-minute chart. We'll change the periods to 60 minutes. Tell it OK. And we've got the 60-minute chart in here. And on top of that, you may want to have the daily chart up as well. Newcrest still. Right click, the D2MX chart is the ones we're looking at. And pop it up here on daily. Now the bottom chart down here can be found at the bottom of the screen, and we'll just pick up the other chart. So we've now got the 3 charts open. We've got the daily, trend and Newcrest. In a bit. So overall it's been moving up and heading higher. We've got the hourly trend, so what's happening on an hourly basis, and it's crawling higher up through there. And then we come down to the 3-minute that we've set up in here, where it's moving again gradually higher up through here. So by having the 3 time frames, we can get a good view of what's happening in the market in different time frames and help us to make a decision. If I right click on any share, I can broadcast it into all of those charts. Now the way that I've set up the screen, you see that these 2 disappear. Either I can uncover them so that they're always visible, and I can move the depth, or I can bring them to the front and cover over what's in behind. So there's a couple of ways to lay out your screen and get it set up for how you want to use it. But now when I broadcast, and if I click on ANZ, I can right click broadcast, and ANZ will be updated in all 3 charts. We look at QBE and right click and broadcast again, and now QBE appears in all the charts. So these are some of the sort of more standard tools that you'd be fairly familiar with looking at the market intraday. But I wanted to look at a few other things that are in the new platform, some that you may or may not be as familiar with. Under market activity, it's possible to have a look at what is up and down for the day. Now we can scan the entire market, or we can look at specific sectors such as resources, energy, large cap or small cap companies, depending on what we're interested in. So let's take a look at the midsection, medium cap companies, and then we can look at whether it's up by volume or by value. So volume traded being the number of shares, value being the number of shares times the price. So the volume traded today, the largest volumes occurred in Dart Energy with 27 million shares going through. Now those shares are at 30 cents, so when we start to look at value, Dart may not top the chart anymore. Comes in at number 2. Challenger actually did a bit more in dollar terms, because of 54 cents times 18 million, slightly more than Dart Energy. But this is where the volume was. This is updated right throughout the day, so once the market's open you can see where the money's moving for the day. You can also have a look at what's moving as far as percentages goes. Here the market's up. Percentage, the big movers today was Coffee International and Allied Gold. Coffee was up 9.78 and Allied Gold up 9.69. Now it can be useful to catch on to some of these shares very early in the piece, in the day, and if they're going to continue a move, to get on board and ride that. And you can monitor what is up and what is also down for the day as well. So looking on the moves to the downside, we saw G&M and HIG, Highlands Pacific, off about 8% today. So there's a way to scan the market and monitor what's happening as far as different areas go. We're looking at medium cap, but we could just as easily look at resources and do a scan on resources companies. Biggest movers in the resources sector today was Malagasy Minerals. From any of these, I can right-click on it, broadcast it, and I get all my charts updated with the latest information on those companies. And then I can decide whether I want to make a trade or not. Often you'll find that the biggest movers, such as MGY as we got here today, are quite low volume or illiquid. They're not trading very much, which is seen by these gaps in the candles. There's not a huge amount of trading in a company like this today. But it is moving higher and quite consistently so over a number of days. So that's one that had quite a reasonable day up today. Significant move from about 10, just 11 cents up to about 13. So the market activity is one way to happening in the market today, and just keep a monitor on shares that may be of interest or up and coming for future research. So the companies that we could possibly look at for the future. If I right click on, we'll use the daily chart, if I right click on this and select the watch list, and the watch list that I'm looking at, one step here, these movers here, if I save this as a watch list, so if I go quote, save as, and I save it as today's movers in the resources, and tell that OK, I've created a watch list in here called, where is it? Today's movers resources. And now if I right click on the chart, I can select that watch list, today's movers resources, and I can then scroll through the different companies in it just by using these blue arrows at the top of the screen. So I can flick through and make a decision on whether there's something I'm interested in taking a closer look at. Just by working through that list quite quickly, looking at the daily charts to see whether there's something that catches my eye that I may want to focus on more. So that's one way we can use the scans and have a look for the opportunities today. Now, one of the other things in the new Market Analyser platform is we have what's called the market map. In the analytics here, market map, and this is a visual way to see what's moving in the market. So it's another tool that you can use to identify the market movers for the day. The way that this works is the brighter the color, so the brighter the green, if we look up in here, the bigger the move. The darker the brighter the red is, the bigger the down move. So the brighter green up moves, brighter red down moves. And with this we can set up the way that we're looking for it. We're looking for movement as a percentage, or we can set up the area of the boxes as either by volume, value, or movement as a percentage. We'll use value traded today, and then the color can be set up either as index points or movement as a percentage. We can actually view the security codes and see the actual shares on the blocks here. So you can very quickly see which companies are having a good day or a bad day, or if there's a particular sector, because they're broken up into sectors, we can see the actual sectors, whether one is stronger or weaker than another. And overall, just a glance at this chart, appears that materials didn't have a particularly good day. Not a lot of green in the materials sector today, and looks like consumer discretionary was probably one of the strongest sectors today. Now remember, these colours will change throughout the day as the market moves. So you can pick up pretty early in the day where money is moving, whether it's moving out of materials into discretionary or what the movement is. You can also drill down into any of these sectors. So consumer discretionary here, if I double click on it, I'll go and have a closer look at those companies. Here's the retailing companies, consumer services, automobiles, and consumer durables in the corner there. So it's consumer services, and these are the companies, EGP, Tabcorp, Aristocrat Leisure, that have had a reasonable day. I can double click in there, and again we're getting in closer. Hotel, restaurants and leisure, and we've got Crown, not such a good day, but again those other three, positive day in there. And zoom back out and pick on another sector, take a closer look at that. Big retailers, not such a good day today for them, and again I can drill in SUL. Looks like it's had a reasonable day, but overall was pretty negative in the retail sector. Can zoom back out and zoom back out to the entire market. So a great visual tool for identifying trading opportunities or market movements during the day. And that's the market map. Fantastic tool built into the new Market Analyser 7 platform. I'll just touch on one more thing while we're working through things. That's a feature of the new Market Analyser, and that is the D2MX trade tools. Up in here we've got the Analyzer. Now if you're using the previous version of Market Analyser Pro, the Analyzer scans were all done on end of day data. So that means they looked at yesterday's trading and said, okay, these are the shares that met the criteria based on yesterday. Well, quite a step forward for the Market Analyser 7 is the scans are now based on the trading as of now when you run the scan. Two moving averages to cross over, then they may not have crossed yesterday, but they might cross at say 12 o'clock today. I can run the scan in the middle of the day and it picks up that cross, and I can place a trade before the market closes today, rather than waiting till tonight, see that the crossovers happen, and placing the trade the next day. So we'll use an example of the two moving averages. You've got a huge range of indicators that you could use, but we'll pick out the two moving averages crossover, and we'll set the time periods, 3 period crossing over the 9 period. We'll look for a fast cross above slow, so we're looking here for the share moving into an uptrend as signaled by the moving averages here. We can scan any watch list that we want. Just for keep the scan reasonably short, we'll stick to the top 20 tonight. But we can choose from any of the preloaded ones or even the ones that we've created today. Today's movers, we could then scan that with some other criteria to identify trading opportunities. But we'll have a look at the ASX 20 today and we'll calculate those shares that have met the criteria. Now CSL has crossed above the averages today, but CSL there's been a crossover, and we can then go and look at closer at CSL. Now I'm not sure what time this actually occurred during the day, because of course the market's now shut and it occurred sometime today, but the scan will pick it up immediately that it occurs. So if you run the scan and the crossovers happened, you'll get the results. They will be there. Double click on CSL and that will take me into a chart of CSL in here. And we can see we've got some moving averages on here. They're not 3 and 9, but there has been a cross up in the averages. Could also look at the other way, fast crossing below the slow, and run the scan there, and Rio crossed down today. So double click on Rio, and there's Rio. We've got a cross down in the moving averages on Rio today. So the new Market Analyser scan here allows you to run intraday scans. So you're scanning on what is current right now. and is now an intraday trading tool. In the previous versions, it was an end-of-day tool and it allowed you to make up a list for today to watch a bit closer. But now it can be utilized to scan the market in real time. So those are a few of the tools that we've been looking at this evening that can be used to assist you with your trading in real time. The first off is just the standard watch lists. So your quote here, you can pick up any of your preloaded watch lists or any of the watch lists that I've already saved, and keep an eye on any of the shares in here and what's happening. Using the trend here, we can get a quick glance to see whether things are moving up or down from that. We can take it a step further by using the market activity to identify companies that are standing out today. So they're either up sharply or down sharply, or there's been big volume traded in those particular companies. And we can identify those as potential opportunities using the market activity scans in here. We can look closer at any of the shares that we're looking at just with a right click on it, and we can go into depth, and depth gives us the list of all the buyers and sellers and the last 20 trades. If you want a bit more than the 20 trades, you can do the same, right click and go into course of sales, and course of sales gives you all of the trades that have actually gone through in late and over the day. So you can look back, and we're looking at today's date, but you can actually go back in history and look at any day and see the actual trades that are transacted. So they're stored in here as well. But if I right click and broadcast, we can broadcast the information through the entire platform. So with the broadcast, we've got a number of charts set up on intraday periods. We can then broadcast the information to all of those charts, and all of the charts will be updated with the latest information from Link Energy. In this case is what we're looking at. Up in the analytics, we had the market map, which allows you to see what's happening in the market on a visual basis to see where the movement's occurring. And with a double you can drill down into that sector and see that capital goods didn't have such a great day, and there a lot of red ink in that particular area today. And the one that sort of stands out is SYD, Sydney Airport, that's actually had a positive day in that sector. So maybe worthy of more investigation. Right click on it and broadcast, and we will have the charts in the background have been updated with the information from Sydney Airport. So in here we've got the different charts, and now we're looking at Sydney Airport and what's been happening in Sydney Airport today.
Welcome to GoToWebinar, Web Events Made Easy.
Analyzer has the ability now to scan on intraday data. It scans on the current data, so we ran them two moving average crossover scan, could run a number of other scans in here to identify potential opportunities today. CCI above, below, say above 50, and run that, and we get a list of shares. One of the things that's just been added into the analyzer is the filter settings, where we can filter out based on price, greater than or less than in here, and volume also. So if the minimum price is, let's say we're looking for things between $5 and $10, then
Muted.
looking through those between $5 and $10, we can actually filter the list that we've got down to that. So we've got 5 to 10, Calculate that, and we've only now got 3 shares that meet the criteria there. So we can set up our filters in here and set up volume greater than or less than a particular level as well. We want volume greater than 1 million shares, enough zeros, and we can calculate that, and we still get the same 3 shares coming through. But the cool thing about the Market Analyser 7 is that these scans are real time. So if I run the scan at 10 o'clock, it very likely could be different from one that's run at 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock during the trading day. And so I can get my signals before the market closes and then place trades accordingly. So are there any questions on any of the tools that we've had a look at tonight? Any of the different pieces, or any aspect of the program? Doesn't just have to be what we've looked at this evening. Any questions on any of that with the new Market Analyser 7? I was talking to Ben before the presentation. They're saying they're getting a lot of calls at the help desk, and people have overall been very positive about the changes and are quite pleased with the upgrades. The help desk is available Tuesday and Wednesday evenings, and they'll be there till late. They're there till 9 o'clock on Melbourne time. So they're till 9 o'clock Melbourne time on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings for the whole of April, and we're now moving into May, so continuing through May. Hey there, Tess, I got your message. Also, there was a question there on the portfolio. At the moment, the portfolio, there is a tool to pull the portfolio information out of the old MA6 into an Excel spreadsheet. We are actually currently working with Iris on the new portfolio tool, which will be integrated in the program. So there is a new portfolio tool coming, which will be integrated into the program. So any questions there? Okay, Tess, when I scan the analyzer, how do I select to scan a different date rather than just today? Okay, you can do that, but it's not in the analyzer that you do that. If you want to scan, say, yesterday or the day before and have a look at the information, the way to do it is in the trading system. Because by scanning previous days, you're effectively backtesting is what you're doing. And the trading system allows you to run your back tests there. So what you can do in the trading system, if we were looking for our moving average crossover, we'll build the strategy and have a look in here. Well, we're going to create a new strategy. Yes. And we're going to add in the entry formulas. Scrolling down, we're going to take a look at the moving average 2 crossover that we're looking at for 3 and 9, fast across above slow, and we'll tell that OK. So that's our entry signal, and if we want to then run it on a date and history, we'll save that information. We'll just choose a watch list that we're going to run on, the ASX 20, and click Save. Give it a name, MA Cross, and tell it OK. So the trading system is now be used. We don't have to run an exit because all we're really interested in is a list of shares for today, or the day that we're going to run it on. So tell it OK. When we click on Run Strategy, today's, well, there's a period set up in here, but we could run this on the 2nd of May to the 2nd of May and run the back test. And what that will do is it will actually allow us to see what happened on that day, what the scan brought up. So this is yesterday's information. We're not looking at today's, we're looking at yesterday's, and we'll get a list of shares. Now, because we haven't seen any exits, this is going to not mean much. But if we go to the standard report list, we get a list of all the codes that actually met that criteria. And there's a number of shares that met that criteria yesterday. So test, that's one way that you can do it. And here you're running a scan, but you're using the back tester to run the scan because you're testing historically rather than up to date. So that's how you do it in the new Market Analyser 7. You could also run it over a week because it will show each date what's happened. Oops, I've got it 7th 5th 2011. It should be 2012. That's why we've got such a long list. So we got 2 shares meeting the criteria yesterday. I was running over a full year. If you run over a period longer than a day, you'll get a list of shares, but it will show the date that they were valid on. So you can actually run a back test and get a list of shares that they're valid for. But by running just the one day, we get the shares that met that criteria on that day. And we can choose any day in history to do that. So Tess, I trust that answers the question there. A question from Neil, in terms of placing orders, in particular contingent orders, is it possible to place a stop order as opposed to a limit order, i.e. set a price in the market when the order becomes a market order as opposed to a limit-related order? The reason for using a limit order on the contingent is that when you enter the trade, if you put in completely at market, that means you're prepared to buy at any price. Now, in a situation where you get a sell in a heavily falling market, then you can end up selling at a much, much lower price if the volume isn't there, the buyers aren't around. So that's why the limit order is in there for setting that up. So just check with the guys at Trader Dealer on whether it's possible to actually get it as a market, but usually they want a limit order, and you just set a limit that you know should execute, but you just want to put a limit on it so that it's not executed at a ridiculous price. That's the reason for having a limit order in there rather than just an outright market order. Tess, when I draw trend lines on my charts, they're not showing anymore. Only when I create new charts, then the trend line is working fine. That's one that you're probably best to talk to the help desk about. Not sure why they wouldn't be coming up. So the old charts that you've brought across, I'm assuming it's the old charts you brought across from Market Analyser Pro or Market Analyser 6 that's come across, then for some reason they're not actually displaying properly. Ben's just told me that some of the templates can be damaged, and if the template is damaged, then it's not possible to draw the actual line. That's why it could be happening. So the actual template that the chart is built on, that's been pulled across from Market Analyser 6, if it has a fault in it, then the line won't be appearing. So it's something that it will be necessary then in that case to actually redraw the chart to get the lines and everything working, because there's a fault with the old template which is causing you problems. And that's from Ben there. So Market Analyser 7, there's sort of bugs like that are few and far between. We're still fixing things up as we find things, but they're certainly not quite as buggy as the old system. So Tess, that's probably what's happening in your situation. The template that you've got on that chart is damaged or has a bug in it, and that's why you can't draw anything else on it. Okay, so any other questions out there about any aspect of the program? Nothing there, all quiet. One thing we have noticed is there's been a lot less questions in the webinars. The idea of the webinars over the last month has been to be here to answer questions as you're getting familiar with it. And initially we got flooded with questions, which is understandable. But as people are getting more familiar with it, the questions are certainly slowing down. If you've got any questions, please feel free to fire them through now, and I'll attempt to answer them, or I'll answer them as best I can at the moment. And your feedback has been very valuable as far as the development of the program goes, and certainly highlighting where we need to focus the next bit or the next fix in the program and what aspects to add into the program. So your feedback's been really good in that, and it's been great to get that from you as you get transitioned to the new program. As I said, the majority of the feedback's been very positive. The platform is a lot more reliable. It's certainly, with Iris running the back end, they specialize in providing that real-time data in real time. And they do a very good job of it, and that's why we've moved over to use them as the back end. But we've still retained the features like the analyzer scans, the trading system, and the charting out of Market Analyser, which is far superior than what we've seen in the, or what's standard in Iris. So it's a good blend of the two. There's a lot more enhancements coming, and as I said, the feedback we get from you helps us with those developments. The data link I talked about a little earlier, which will allow you to choose which charts link up rather than at the moment broadcast to everything. The portfolio will be updated, so there will be a portfolio system coming in. Iris are actually working on that and have been for a while to update for all of Iris, and it will be included when it's available and ready to go. And the other one is that with the scans at the moment, you can scan a watch list, but you can't scan the entire market. So with the Analyzer scan, you will have an option to scan the entire market for your criteria. At the moment, you have to either create a watch list of the shares you're interested in, or scan one of the preset watch lists that are already loaded. So there will be full ASX scans coming. And those three are the sort of the next on the radar. And the development will continue, but those are the next three that we're planning. So as I said, if you've got any questions, please give support a call. A question from Neil: is there any priority in placing for inclusion of median lines as a charting tool? Not, well, it's not one I've actually been asked before. Median lines as in the an automatic median line, is it? Because you've got a moving average which essentially runs up the middle of the price movement, depending on the time frames you're using. But as far as indicator enhancements go, they haven't been high on the list of things at this stage. Ben's listening in on the call, so he'll make a note of that feature, and if you can, I was just saying to me, if you can email it through to customer care, then what they'll do is they'll add it into the list of things that need look at for future developments. So if you can email through to customer care at mdsfinancial.com.au, then they'll add that into the tool or into the list of things for future developments. So thanks for that, Neil. So I wish you all a great evening. Thanks very much for taking the time to have a look through some of the new intraday charting tools in the Market Analyser platform. And I'd like to wish you all successful trading and a great evening. Talk to you soon.